Hi, welcome to today's PD. I'm going to spend the next few minutes orienting you specifically to our data analysis reflection process. Right now I'm on the master agenda where we're going to spend the next 90 minutes reflecting on quarter one and preparing for quarter two. So I'm going to click on this link to take me to the specific agenda that I am speaking about right now. And I want to make my way to the quarter one reflection and quarter two planning checklist. So once you are there, you've seen this by now. This just outlines the tasks that we want teachers to think about as they wrap up end of quarter one and before we launch quarter two. And this is helping us reflect on our actions and our data to see what we can learn and take forward into quarter two. So for the next few minutes, I'm going to be specifically talking about our interim assessment process and completing this data analysis template. So first, I'm going to open the interim assessment analysis sheet. This is view only, so I will want to make a copy and share it with my coach. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to make a copy. And I'm going to just rename this Benjamin, and I'm going to share with my coach. So that's something you'll want to do before you begin. And so this analysis sheet is going to walk you through your assessment results, looking at different sorts of data and then asking some reflection questions that has you thinking about what parts of your practice contributed to the results that your students had and then implications that this had going forward. It's a 2-page document that takes you through different layers of your data process. So I'm going to go back to the checklist, and I also want to have student work available, any evidence related to the interim assessment, so work done on an actual test, an actual performance task, an essay, for example. It would be helpful to have a hard copy of the test, and then I'll also need to be able to access the data in Elluminate. So I'm going to click on Elluminate and pull up the data that I'm going to need. My interface might look a little bit different than yours does, but I'm going to make my way over here to where it says assessments, and then I want to view assessments. Again, my view might look slightly different than yours, where I have access to a bunch of different assessments. You probably just have your personal assessments. I'm going to open up pre-calculus interim assessment, and this is the overview tab, and so you should make your way to the overview tab that looks like this. And I'm going to be toggling between this overview document and my specific interim assessment analysis sheet. So I'm actually just going to X out of the view only. So this sheet should go in line with the overview tab. So these boxes right here, I'm looking just at overall mastery. The report I need is the overview tab, and again, that's this overview tab right here. And I want to think about the average percent correct overall, the number of students, the percent not mastered, the percent mastered, and I'm responding to just high-level question about what contributed to these results. After I've thought through just the overall mastery, I'm now going to start thinking about subgroups and how subgroups did on this particular assessment. So I'm going to go back to my data, and I'm going to scroll down here until I get to subgroup achievement data. And I'm going to specifically look at the different subgroups, so Asian, Black or African American, Hispanic, two or more races, special ed, socioeconomic disadvantage, those are the groups that I want to look at. And I'm just going to look at their overall percent mastery. So Asian students had 92.1% mastery on this assessment. Hispanics had average 73%. Special ed students had on average 68.4%. So that's the number that I'm going to find most helpful when looking at this graph. And I want to reflect here which subgroups are scoring above the course average, which subgroups are scoring below the course average. And then again, I'm going to be thinking about which parts of my practice contributed to these results in this box, and then any implications this has on my planning going forward. So now I'm going to move away from the overall tab, and I'm going to go to the response frequency report. And on this report, I'm going to be thinking about data on the question level. So which questions had the highest student mastery, and then I scroll down which questions had the lowest student mastery. And then again, that's going to be on the response frequency report. So I go back to Elluminate, and I'm going to go back up to the top, and I'm going to move away from the Overview tab and go to the Reports tab. And I'm going to click down here on the response frequency. And I'll scroll down below, and this allows me to look at student performance by question. And so this puts the questions in order of performance, with the questions that students performed not as well on over to the right, where students performed the best on. And that helps me to easily identify the highest performing questions and then the lowest performing questions. If I scroll down below, this is just another way to look at question by question analysis. And this can be an interesting view where, for example, question 4, which is one of the lower performing questions, I can look at the response rate. So 30A was the right answer, 34 students chose A, 42 students chose B, 18 students chose C, 22 students chose D. There's a lot to learn in that distribution. I can also click on question 4 to see what the question was. And this should give me a view of the question and then the answers, and then I can spend some time wondering why students might have chosen the wrong answers over the right answers. So this is the response frequency report. I want to go back over to the interim assessment reflection protocol. And again, I want to identify the 3 questions with the highest student mastery, the 3 questions with the lowest student mastery, and look at what content and skills are embedded in the question. And again, I'm going to reflect which parts of my practice contributed to these learning results and what implications does this have on my planning going forward. And then finally, the last level of analysis that we're going to do today is looking at particular students who might need additional support based on the interim assessment results. And for this analysis, I'm going to go to the matrix report. So I'm going to go back to Elluminate. I'm going to go back in my browser. I'm going to go back up to reports at the top, and I'm going to go to the matrix report. I'll click on that. And there are some filters up here that I could use, but for now I'm just going to click View in Browser. The report is being generated, and I should get a list of all of my students and how they did individually. So I can look across and see how they did individually. I can also look to see how the whole class or the whole course did on particular questions. And what I want to do in this view, although there's a lot to do for the analysis, identify 5 to 7 students who need additional support based on these results, and then consider the students listed above. What in-class supports might these students benefit from going forward? And then there's a note here down at the bottom. We will have a PD coming up on students to hold close, which is focused on supporting students who could use some additional support. If names come up, you can use this as an opportunity to complete this survey that Emma sent out in an email earlier this week. So again, hopefully this orients you to moving through this reflection sheet, how to access Elluminate, and then takes you through helping you wrap up end of quarter 1 as we think about moving into quarter 2. If you have any additional questions about how to read an Elluminate report, how to interpret the data, how to fill out the interim assessment report, Holly and I will be in the atrium. You're also welcome to meet with your coaches. Please reach out for support. We're here to help you, and enjoy reflecting on the end of quarter 1. And congratulations to making it to this point.